Auspicious greetings, everyone. It's good to have you back. I know we had a week break, and I hope that you managed to do a lot of things, and also do some reading on the Vimalakirti Sutra. So before we go into chapter 8 and 9, let us have a brief meditation. Just try to sit upright, and then we just try to center ourselves by giving ourselves a short moment to gather our thoughts and just relax our body as we focus our mind. Let us slowly taking a few deep breaths, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in again, breathing out. Let us gently wrap our palms together. Cover our palms on our eyes, top of our head, over our ears, to the back of our neck. Let's wrap our palms together again. And to massage our shoulders, arms, all the way to our fingers and wrists. Okay. So for today, we're going to look into chapter 8 and 9. Before we go into chapter 8 and 9, let us quickly have a very brief recap of what we have covered so far. First of all, Vimalakirti Sutra is one of the main Mahayana texts that as a bodhisattva or for us to practice and focusing on mainly the perfections of practices, mainly focusing on bodhisattva's practices. So along the way, we might come across chapters, especially when we went to we're gone over chapter 3, mainly on the disciples, chapter 4 on bodhisattvas, how they are reluctant to go and see Vimalakirti. And of course, the contents itself, we will find that in many ways that Vimalakirti is trying to point out practices that is beyond what we usually comprehend in terms of what is practice, what is living righteously, and so on and so forth. It is because what Vimalakirti is trying to share with the disciples, or even bodhisattvas, it is the level of bodhisattva's practices that has gone beyond the perception and non-perception, or what we call like non-duality in a way. So it doesn't mean that the foundation of our practices is not important, but in this sutra, the text itself, it has already moving towards right before enlightenment. So the stages like even like bodhisattvas practicing bodhisattva's path, it is already almost towards perfections in one's practice. So sometimes when we, especially today, tonight, when we talk about non-duality or looking into chapter 8 and 9, there are things that sometimes we might be thinking, how come the Buddha way is not the way? What does it mean? But when we try to understand the contents of Vimalakirti Sutra, always remind ourselves that the stages of the foundation, like Noble Eightfold Path, what we practice, compassion, loving kindness, all these stages, all these practices are still applicable. But when we practice until moving towards the other shore, when it is time for us to, the Buddha or in this sutra, reminded us to let go of the raft because we're already on the other shore. So in many ways that sometimes Vimalakirti is trying to pinpoint is to detached, or even like going beyond attachment and detachment in terms of understanding fully and having insight, that knowing that whether it's Dharma or non-Dharma, all this is part of skillful means. And the main thing is not for us to dwell into the duality perception or conception that we have. So 2 weeks ago, when we talked about, went into chapter 6 and 7. I know that we did it a little bit in a hurry. We went over the time, but basically we tried to understand what Vimalakirti is trying to point out in terms of form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. Where how the small room can put in like 32,000 seats, and how does Bodhisattva regards living beings, meaning that when Bodhisattva, how do we give rise to loving kindness and compassion towards liberating, helping all beings? And Vimalakirti tried to point out that even the beings, the people that we help out, they are also temporarily existed, dependent on so many causes and conditions itself. It is not fixed, it's not permanent. It's trying to let us understand fully when we practice the perfections of wisdom or the Bodhisattva's path. It's not for us to hold on to the action of helping others, and it's trying for us to understand that when we do good deeds, when we help others, eventually what we call understanding that the people that we're helping, the things that we are loaning or lending or helping to share with others itself, everything is dependently originated. There's nothing for us to cling on to it. And of course, chapter 7, it ended with the conversation between the goddess and Sariputra, and how Sariputra is still attached to the flowers that is on the shoulders, that stuck on the body. Try to remove the flowers, knowing that as a monk you shouldn't adorn yourself with flowers. So in some ways that also point out that there's attachment to the gender issue. And of course the goddess turned Sariputra into the goddess form. He got shocked. And then the goddess kind of like put Sariputra in a place where, since you have already realized our hardship, why don't you change yourself to the male form? But here we're not trying to really go into the gender issue. But the main thing about this is for us to know that when the sutra mentioned about changing from the female form to the male form, is not really referring to the appearance, but it is mainly referring to the characteristics of one's practice. Okay, it's not because of physical. in a way. Okay, so this is a quick recap of what we have gone through the past few weeks, and then again that today this term we are only like doing introduction to Vimalakirti Sutra, and sometimes like it really takes a few times, many times for us to read again and again, and as we experience life. As we contemplate on what we learn in our everyday life, eventually we try to accumulate more and more understanding or insights in the sutra. So in this chapter, chapter 8, that really goes into one question. The main question is, how does the Bodhisattva go about mastering the Buddha way? So that was the main question that were asked. Okay, so the answer that Vimalakirti replied that the Bodhisattva should follow a path that is not the way, then he can master the Buddha way. Okay, so when it comes to this answer, many of us might think that, why? The Bodhisattva follows the wrong way. He should follow the way that is not the way. Okay, so when the sutra talks about not the way or wrong way, it is more of like entering a realm of suffering without being default, meaning that just going back to what I shared earlier, as we initiate this path in cultivation, we come across different practices, like for example, meditation. When we meditate, we try to find a secluded place, a place that is very quiet, so that we try to focus our mind, try to settle down, try to close out the outside world, and try to focus on our meditation. But the more that we learn about meditation, Buddhist meditation, and the more that we put in effort in building that meditative concentration foundation, eventually when we learn about the Mahayana Buddhist meditation way, especially in Guangshan, we try to bring meditation not only sitting, not only standing, not only walking, but we try to extend and expand the meditative cultivation into our everyday life. And in a way that in many of our temples, we have so many different programs, classes, and even we have activities reaching out to the community, cultural activities, try to introduce Buddha's teachings in so many different ways. And for us, as monastics, or including our temple members or volunteers, or even the BLIA members, to every one of us, we try to look at it and try to transform whatever that we do, and look at it as if that this is a meditative practice. This is our practice. This is what we call humanistic Buddhism in our everyday life. Yeah, so in many ways, it reflected upon what the Vimalakirti Sutra is trying to say, that not the way, it doesn't mean that the wrong way, but it's mainly reminding us that when Bodhisattvas continue to practice the perfection of wisdom, the Paramita in everyday life, in reaching out to different people, going to different places, it's just like in this sutra, engaging in earthly desire, but not showing any earthly desire, and remained unattached, remain pure in essence. Okay, and even like Vimalakirti also mentioned that if the Bodhisattva goes into the region of the five scenes that lead to hell of a lot of like suffering, one will show no anguish or anger, and so on and so forth. If one were to go to some place which is not temple, and then one might think that, oh, how come this this person goes to a liquor store? How come this person goes to different places? But it's a reminder that sometimes if we are framed out with the idea of practice as in only on the meditation cushion, that is not just sitting meditation. Practice is not just living in a secluded life away from people, but practice is within what we do every day. And also, we try to cope with the changes of different lifestyle, different time frame, and different culture. We try to adapt, but still practicing the Buddha's way, still practicing the Bodhisattva's path as in a way for us to get to know ourselves better, especially when we interact with others in organizing activities. We will learn how to communicate more effectively with others, and how we practice tolerance when it comes to coming across with different opinions, different or challenging situation. We try to find solution, then try to avoid it. Okay, so this is what the sutra mentioned about the Bodhisattva should follow a path that is not the way, then he can master the Buddha way. Yeah, it is because Vimalakirti knows that most of the practitioners are attached to the proper and conservative or the traditional secluded life practices. That is the reason why Vimalakirti tried to emphasize on the Bodhisattva's practices that is related to going to different places, meeting different people, but yet the mind is still within the practice of the Buddha way. Okay, and of course, there's a lot of challenges, especially when it comes to the practicing the Buddha way. Okay, so it is a reminder for us how to transition, how a Bodhisattva mastered the Buddha way by following a path that is involving engaging actions that might seem appear to be contradictory, but are carried out with wisdom and compassion. Like, for example, bodhisattvas that may appear to show greed, anger, or stupidity, but is actually free from these defaultments. So, and again, why Vimalakirti wants to emphasize on that, it is because when we practice, we come across challenges like how do we transition from the gradual practices that focusing on only self-practice to the bodhisattva's practice. And also Vimalakirti is trying to reveal the Buddha way that is beyond conventional distinction, that knowing that, as a monastic, that you have to be solemn, you shouldn't joke with others, you should be shouldn't carry money, you shouldn't do this and that. But when it comes to things that we do today, sometimes it's because of skillful means, but yet we always still follow what the Buddha has shared with us in terms of the teachings and the practices, and also mainly to transcend the dualistic thinking that we have, and try to fully understand what is the true enlightenment that the Buddha realized in a way. So in this chapter, there are this distinction. The distinction is trying to let us understand that sometimes with this, there's another thing that we usually our mind is thinking that way. So we might be following very conventional practices, but then we might have forgotten what is the main objective of practicing the Buddha's teachings, is to liberate ourselves from suffering, and also to realize enlightenment and just be like the Buddha. Okay, So in a way that with these pictures that I found generated via the AI images, is trying to share with everyone how a bodhisattvas, that how do we follow the ways of sensuous distraction, not following the sensual desires, distractions, but yet how do we naturally develop concentration? Okay, we won't be distracted by the worldly attractions or worldly desire when we are into this place, in this all the different colors, different attractions, but yet our mind remains calm and focused. Okay, so that's why like there's a metaphor of lotus. Okay, lotus grows in the mud. Okay, taking the nutrients from the mud. That when a lotus blossom, it doesn't smell like mud. It smells fragrant. There's no single traces of mud on the lotus flower. It still bloom nicely, fragrance. And the reason why the Buddha used this metaphor is for us to remind ourselves living in this world, especially in the Saha world, there are all these earthly desires. There's all these three poisons, and how do we um, transform or learn from the challenges in life? How do we use the wisdom that the Buddha shared with us and have an insight in knowing that all these challenges are not stopping us from progressing? All these challenges that help us see grow stronger in a way. And just like yesterday, last night, or even this morning. Like yesterday, we just had the general election, for the new president of the United States of America. And I know when one wins, the other party might lose. But then when it comes to places where we look at it as someone winning and someone losing, there are emotions involved. But if we look at it as a bigger picture, that whatever that the people thought that it is the best for the nation, this is people's choice. But then again, whatever choices that were made, it has been made. But then how can we, so to some of us might look at it as challenges, to some of us might look at it as something smooth sailing, but whether it is challenges or it is opportunities, no matter what, how are we going to perceive it? That is the key. And how do we manage it? That is the key. And how all these results, all these effects, how it continues to become new causes, and the conditions are within our hands sometimes, that how we create new conditions to make changes or make it better and etc. But there was one line that I read in the news that I was like, it also reflects upon what we are discussing tonight. When the sky is dark, only then we can see the stars. Okay, so in many ways that in our life, sometimes that we might look at it as difficulties, we might look at it as obstacles. But if we change our perspective in looking at this might be the opportunity for us to become better or learn from it. It's just like the lotus. Whatever mud, whatever nutrients that is there, we take the mud and how one can transform into nutrients. Okay, so that's why the Buddha gave this parable or metaphor of a lotus is a reminder for ourselves in life. Not all of us will experience smooth sailing. Sometimes there's ups and sometimes it's down. But always remember, whatever practices that we practice, it always have to have compassion with wisdom. Okay, so that entails another story that I would like to share with everyone. That there was a monk that was meditating by the river and noticed that a scorpion was struggling in the water. So out of compassion, the monk reached out to the scorpion. And then we know that scorpion has a habit, or especially when it is drowning, is struggling, try to protect oneself. The scorpion stung him. And then the monk pulled his hand back because of pain. But then again, the monk tried to save the scorpion. And of course, the scorpion stung him again. So a passerby walked by and noticed this and asked the monk, why do you keep trying to save the scorpion when it only causes you pain? Okay. So the monk replied, it is the nature of the scorpion to sting, but it is my nature to save. Okay. So this story illustrates the Buddha way, showing how a compassionate being acts without expectation or attachments to outcomes. Okay. But then again, as a Bodhisattvas, when we practice compassion, sometimes we have to find different ways in reaching out to those in need. Like with these examples, even though a monk might have a habit of practicing compassion, is the nature, second nature itself. Okay. But then when it comes to wisdom, one can try to have different ways to save the scorpion from drowning. Okay, so I think that this is a story that can really highlight the importance of compassion with wisdom. Okay, with compassion without wisdom, it doesn't work, and with wisdom without compassion, it doesn't work too. Okay, so this is briefly about the Buddha way as we illustrate or try to understand what Manjushri and Vimalakirti is trying to share with us in terms of what is not the way, and that highlights and brings up what is the actual Buddha way. Okay, so the next chapter is even more interesting when it comes to non-dualism. Okay, so before we go into something that is very not easy to understand, especially trying to use words to describe non-duality, let me share with you one incident. Okay, you might be wondering, why am I showing you a bowl of noodle soup? There was one evening when we have volunteers to cook a bowl of noodle soup. We kind of like look at the bowl of noodle soup, which is it looks very tasty. By the smell of it, it smells tasty. So we were discussing, when we smell it, smells tasty. When you look at it, of course, with the picture, you might not smell it. Okay. And then how are we going to let a person knows how does it taste like? Okay. And then when I taste it and I share, ooh, oh, it's a little bit spicy. Okay. So, and then the other person just look at it and look at my expression, and then as if one can feel the spiciness with my expression. And I reply saying that, oh, well, by looking at me eating the noodle soup, it doesn't really tell you how spicy it is. Okay. But then the person says that, well, by just looking at the expression, I can kind of tell how spicy is it. But then again, how spicy is it? Is it with just smelling it or looking at it, or just perceiving the reaction of one's eating? All this are just the experiences that we try to sometimes comprehend. We might try to put into words, but what we really tasted, we have to really eat it. We really have to try it. And even when we try it, when we taste it, okay, how would others know that this is really spicy, or this is really salty, this is really sweet, this is bitter? Again, this is very subjective. For us to try to describe how does the bowl of noodle soup taste like? We try to put into words, okay? And in a sense that it is duality in a way. Why? Because my experience, I have the way that I perceive it, taste it, is based on my past experience that I recognize that this is spicy, this is salty, this is sweet. But the level that I can handle is different than you, than any one of us. Even when we try to experience it, when we experience it, we will have a different reflections. We will have different reaction to it. It is because, again, every one of us are so special. We are distinct. That everything that we comprehend, we experience, everything is still within a very subjective experience. Okay, so when you ask me how delicious, how does the bowl of noodle soup taste like? I might try to describe it, but then again, you won't be able to taste it. Just like the photo that I shared with you. When you look at this picture, you know that, can you smell it? Nope. Can you taste it? Nope. But through the eye, the organ of our eyes perceiving this photo, it might give rise to eye consciousness. And the eye consciousness might bring out the experiences that we might have in our alaya consciousness that we try to understand, or even some of us might try something similar and then start to experience like, oh, my saliva is coming out. And how everything are dependent on our eyes perceiving the picture here and bringing out whatever experiences that we might have. But yet, my experience, your experience, how I perceive it, and how you perceive it, how we comprehend this, every one of us are different. So when it comes to duality, we are actually experiencing it every single day. Everything that we do. And of course, it is one of the skillful means because we live in this world and in the society, in the community. We still work, we still have interaction with people, we still have many things that we need to measure. We still have big, small, dark, light, spicy, bitter, sweet, tasteless. And all this is just one way for us to experience what we experience every day. Just like tasting this bowl of noodle soup. Okay. So when we understand how this conventional way for us to understand how we perceive through our six senses and how we conceive in through our mind, everything is experience based. And when we based on experiences that we have, we are all different. By knowing what is duality, what is the skillful ways for us to recognize what it is, for us to communicate with each other. We still use words, we still use language, but understanding that all these are the tools for us to better understand and fully understand eventually what is duality. Only then we can go into this question about how does the Bodhisattva go about entering the gate of non-dualism. Okay, so before looking into the answers that Vimalakirti has provided, or like during the discussion, there's like many Bodhisattvas that mention, oh, I know what is non-dualism, because of form, there's non-form, we discriminate, that's why there's duality, and we go beyond this non-dualism. Let me share with you another example. And in San Diego, we have one volunteer. His name is Eugene. He is really into Lego. Okay, as one of the ways for him to release his stress, to distract himself from, not distract, but to have a break time, amid of his busy schedule as a software engineer. He builds Lego. So back in 2017, he started to have a creative thought of making the temple building out of Lego. So he tried to find different parts of Lego, the bricks of different sizes, different shapes, different colors, and then he put together all the pieces, and then becomes the picture that you see, our temple building. For those of you who never been to a Shivan temple, this is how our temple looks like. And it's just like the background photo that I have on the Zoom background. Okay, so he actually put all the different sizes of Lego, all this from Lego. Okay, different colors, even like the Lunar New Year celebration of the lion dance, even Big Bird from Sesame Street, and so many different parts. Okay, so with this as examples, we see many figures, we see many bricks and different sizes. What are the similarities of this? All this is made out of Lego. Okay, so Lego itself, you can say that it is one. Okay, but then we can say that it is many, because if there's one missing brick, there won't be this temple building that you see. Imagine if there's a missing eye of the lion. Okay, this won't be a perfect lion. The same goes to many, many parts. Okay, so within this, we know that Lego itself, it can be one, it can be many, depending on how we look at it. But whether it is one or many, it is non-duality in a way. Okay, so the unique in form and the formless constitute a dualism. But if one understands that the unique in form is in fact the formless, and then does not seize on the formless, but sees all as equal, one may in this way enter the gate of non-dualism. Look at Lego itself. One brick, without one brick, there won't be this whole Lego set. Okay, and then without this Lego, there won't be all this. Okay, so if we can see that the form itself, if we were to remove all the bricks, put together, where's the temple? Where's the lion? This is just bricks of different shapes, different colors. Okay, so when we put together, it might look like a form, but yet it is formless as we deconstruct everything. So the unique in form refers to individuality, the uniqueness of every phenomena in this world. When it comes to formless, on the other hand, is the underlying unmanifested nature of reality that is beyond specific identities. So dualism arises when we separate this distinct nature itself. Okay, if we really understand that a unique in form is in fact formless, and the formless and the form are equal, then we can understand what the Heart Sutra mentioned about form is. What do you call it? Form is emptiness, and emptiness is form. Form is not emptiness, and emptiness is not form. Okay, in this state, only then we can transcend conventional distinction that allows one to perceive reality as interconnected, as a whole, free from limitation, free from all this limited binary thinking. Okay, so another thing that I would like to point out, sometimes when we are living in this world, that sometimes we might stuck with the thinking of dualism. Okay, it reminds me of one of the famous verse I'm not sure if you know who wrote this. I am an old man and have known a great many troubles, but most of them never happened. Okay, so this is a very famous verse by Mark Twain that was recorded in Reader's Digest back in April 1934. Okay, very long time ago. Okay, sometimes when we are in one difficulties or challenge in life, when we're in this situation, even though it could be just one not so big challenge in life, but when we are in this situation, when we are in this scenario, our mind might be thinking about, oh no, I have this trouble A, and then I might have this trouble B, C, D, E, F. Because of one, we thought of so many other possible troubles that might give rise to it. In the end, we discourage ourselves by just looking at this small trouble and magnifying it. And because of dualism in our mind, that has stopped us from progressing or trying out something new. Okay, so Mark Twain wrote this verse and shared this with everyone, letting us know that sometimes we overthink, we think too much. Sometimes, even though that at times we have to think of many scenarios to have preventive measures, but if we're in this situation and then we thought about so many discouraging possibilities, what will happen to our mind? We will lose the momentum of trying to move forward. We might lose the motivation in trying out something new, trying out other possibilities, because our mind might be thinking of so many negativity because of dualism that we have in our mind. Okay, so reminding ourselves that just like in the sutra I mentioned about the I and mind, because we put ourselves into it as a center, the I and the mind form a dualism. Because there's I, there's also mind. When there's no I, there will be no mind. Only then one can enter into the gate of non-dualism. Sometimes the ups and downs in life, just like the picture that I shared with you, we learn how to breathe through it. Breathing through life's ups and downs, okay? And try to look into, and of course, getting to know what is dualism. Only then we can understand what is non-dualism, just like the form and the formless. And just like reminding ourselves, if we were to have too much of the I in the center, it is time for us to take a step back and look at the bigger picture, okay? And of course, after all these bodhisattvas that were sharing their thoughts about what is non-dualism, and then eventually Manjushri asked Vimalakirti, how then does bodhisattva enter the gate of non-dualism? And of course, we all know that Vimalakirti remained silent. Vimalakirti didn't say a single word. And by right, tonight, I shouldn't say a single word. Because when we put into words, all this is skillful means and try to explain something that words cannot explain. But yet, we still need to use words to explain. Okay? Eventually, slowly and gradually, we try to understand what Vimalakirti is trying to bring out within this sutra. So to conclude, what I would like to share with everyone within this 2 chapters is when we practicing the Bodhisattva's way requires engaging with and not shunning away from the worldly desires. this path grows through facing and transforming desires, and one have to really have an insight in duality in order to have insight in non-duality. It's just like the bowl of noodles. It's just like the Lego that I share with you. So I hope that what I share with you, it didn't give rise to more confusions. If yes, I apologize that. But then it is sometimes I also have limitation in terms of how to put words to explain what I comprehend. Okay. Sometimes it is not so easy, but try to use examples to bring out what I understand about the sutra. And I hope that you can also share with me how you experience through having insight or reflection of what you learn from Vimalakirti and how does it apply to your daily life. Okay, so next week we are going to chapter 10, 11. And I know that we are going towards very, very fast, especially try to finish out the 14 chapters within the Vimalakirti. And next week, chapter 10, it involves lunchtime. Okay, involve going, having meals. Okay, and of course, chapter 11 is talking about the action of bodhisattvas, where Vimalakirti bring everyone back to see the Buddha in Umbra Garden. Okay, so this is what I would like to share with everyone today. Anything that you would like to share, or any feedbacks or comments, or any examples that you would like to share with everyone in terms of how you experience some of the contents that we shared even before or tonight, or you prefer total silence, just like Vimalakirti. Anyone? Wow. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'm not sure I can answer it, but maybe others can. Anyone? Oh, wow. Okay.
I do have a comment, Venerable, and that's regarding the gender at the beginning that you talked about. I thought that was the first time that I've heard it said, because yes, whenever I've heard it before, is this focus about kind of transcending the gender. But I like how today you talk this, it's not really about the gender. The gender is just the tool in this particular example. It's really transcending the practice, right? Or saying that it's about the practice rather than whatever tool that Vimalakirti is using in this case of telling Sariputra, just, you're in our hut, change your gender back. So
Yeah.
I thought that was a new understanding from when you started today. And I appreciated that as well, because it's always good to see the different sides of the skillful meaning of everything, right? That there's just many different interpretations, and depending on where we are and where our path, we can hear it in different ways and understand a little bit more of it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sometimes when it comes to words, this is the best choice that the translator can find. Try to translate what the Buddha has shared. Okay, imagine from Sanskrit to English, or in Sanskrit to Chinese to English. And when it comes to translation, sometimes we might stuck with the words that were used. And sometimes it's also good to try to read different edition, different translation. Of course, that is to help us understand what the Buddha is trying to say. Yeah. Okay. So because like during the Buddha's time, there's only two gender, female, male. And today, it'll be a different scenario. It might be more examples. But then again, we are not into gender, but it's more of like practices. Yeah. Okay. And then I think that there's one, let me see, message. Not shunning. It is that is avoiding. Okay, sometimes Sometimes like we as a monastic, we try to avoid like just like Sariputra when there's flower on the clothes on the body, they try to remove the flowers because that is not aligned with the Dharma. Okay, if we have the understanding attaching to that as worldly desire, okay, then this is attaching to the flowers itself. The flower itself doesn't attach to one's body, but it's the mind that attached to the idea that a monk or a nun, a monastic, shouldn't have adornments, shouldn't have flowers on it. Okay. So when it mentioned about not shunning away from the worldly desire, meaning that living in this world, we still need to use computer. We still need to ride in cars. We still need to use credit card to buy things, use money. There are many worldly things that we still need to use. Okay. But then in sometimes like when a practitioner really try to shun away from all this worldly desire, one might remove everything, even like staying in the cave, even like only one rope, for example, like away from people, like all this worldly entertainment or desires, like for ourselves during summer we even took a group of students that came from Taiwan. We went for outdoor movie night. Okay. Traditionally, monastics shouldn't watch movie. Of course, for us, bringing the students there to the park to have the outdoor movie, it's not just to entertain ourselves. But is more of like being within the community and let them experience American culture. Like during summertime, you have like outdoor projection with a movie, and even with the movie, we pick and choose which movie to watch. We watch Immigration, which is and Migration. That is a very cute animation that talks about sometimes if we are really stuck and attached to our comfort zone, sometimes we need to explore and step out of our comfort zone to experience something different. It's just like what I mentioned earlier. If we really stuck in one trouble or one situation, sometimes we shouldn't bombard ourselves with all the negativity or a pessimistic idea about what it is, what had happened. Sometimes we should open our mind and look at it as this is just an opportunity for us to grow stronger, for us to learn from it, to accumulate experience from it. Okay. Yeah, so going back to your question about shunning, not shunning away. Okay. Um, Community. Can you say more about community, how to find community in these days to get off the comfort zone and yet to find the sense of belonging? Community for what I mentioned is mainly within that, for example, the temple. We have temple community, we call Sangha. And also the temple where the temple is, we are within the University Heights community. Okay, so in many sense that the community is a Buddhist community as well as the local community, both are equally important. So like recently, excuse me, our temple, we have put out one little free library right in front of our bookstore, where we shared many books about Buddhism, instrumental music CDs, to share with our University Heights community. We try to share Buddhist related books, CDs that is outside of our Buddhist community. And it's one way for us to outreach and also letting our community knows who we are. And not only that, we also put out 4 cute minions, human-sized minions. And then we gave them 4 Buddhist names. One is Joy. One has the superpower of joy, very happy joy. And then one has the superpower of compassion. So the name is Compassion. And the other one is loving kindness. And the last one is Bodhi. Bodhi is a little bit serious, but it has a superpower of awakening. Okay. So it is one way for us to try to present Buddhism in a more lively way and more family friendly way, so that the local community can embrace us as we embrace them. Okay. So one way that we are actually trying to go beyond our comfort zone, which is within the temple, into our neighbors, because this is what humanistic Buddhism is all about. Is try to practice and also practice righteously, wholesomely. With or without the label of Buddhism is fine, as long as everyone live righteously and live harmoniously. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. No more comments, yeah? Okay. Thank you. Let me share back the slides. Okay. So, let us conclude our today's sharing with dedication and merits. I would like to invite you to join your palms. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our humility and gratitude give rise to great vows. So that I hope that everyone benefited from what I shared and initiate some insight. And I look forward to your sharing from whatever that you can get from this sutra. Okay. And I'll see you next week. Thank you. Good night and good evening, good morning, wherever you are.